The presentation that you are about to see was recorded live at the American Natural Hygiene Society's 45th Annual International Natural Living Conference, held at Georgetown University, Washington, D.C. The speaker for this presentation is Dr. Keki Sidhwa. Dr. Sidhwa is the founder and president of the British Natural Hygiene Society. He is a certified member and past president of the International Association of Hygienic Physicians. Dr. Sidhwa lectures at conferences around the world and has written extensively on the subject of natural hygiene. Dr. Sidhwa's presentation is entitled, Forever Young, Forever Healthy, Forever Beautiful.
Thank you, Mark, for your very kind words and eulogy. I hope you don't expect me to live up to them every single moment of my life. I like to let my hair down once in a while also. However, what I want to say today is relative in the sense that you people have been listening to some remarkable lectures and talks on the physiology, the biochemistry, and the biology. I'm not going to give you one of those talks because I personally believe and feel that physiology and the biology and the biochemistry in your human body continues to tick over whether you understand it or not. But the philosophy and the principles in which you can apply them and live yourself, that is of paramount importance. Dr. Burton, when he opened the conference on Friday, said something about we hygienists have learned to ask questions, and we have also to learn how to ask questions of our body and of ourselves and of other people. There is a nice story about asking questions which I'd like to tell you. Dr. Burton never said, unfortunately, how not to ask a silly question so that you get a silly answer. A father took his children to the zoo. All were keen to see the monkeys. Unfortunately, it was mating time, and the keeper of the zoo explained that the monkeys had gone inside for some meeting together. Would they come out for some salted peanuts? Asked the father. Would you? Responded the keeper. Another way of looking at asking questions is another one. How was your holiday? Said one cannibal to another. Great, came the reply. Lots of sun, lots of sand, lots of sea. So how come you are missing a leg? Unfortunately, the holiday was self-catering. A doctor receptionist was startled when a nun stormed out of his surgery and left without a word. The receptionist asked the doctor what had happened. Well, said the doctor, I explained and examined her and told her that she was pregnant. Doctor, surely it couldn't be, the receptionist said. Of course not, he replied, but it cured her of her hiccups. Just before I came away, my children asked me, Dad, you have been to so many of these conventions. Why do you keep going? I told them that every time I go to the convention, I feel that I'm going to heaven. How come, they asked? So I told them this little story. Once upon a time, a man died and appeared at the pearly gates. Saint Peter took him around a tour of the other world. After a time, they came to a place, and when the man peeked through this huge chamber, he saw a lot of men and women who looked pitiful, emaciated and grouchy and very frustrated. What he saw was the people spooning some food out of a huge cauldron with a spoon whose handle was as long as their arm. Because of this, unfortunately, they could not feed themselves. They could not reach the food and were naturally going hungry. What is this place? The man asked Saint Peter. My son, this is hell, Saint Peter replied. They moved on and soon came to yet another place, but slightly smaller in size. When the man peeked through this, he saw almost the same situation as in hell. Long-handled spoon and a cauldron of food, but there was a difference. The occupants looked well-fed, cheerful and bubbling with happiness. What he noticed also was each man got the food out of the cauldron with the long-handled spoon. Instead of trying to feed themselves, they were trying to feed and offering the food to another occupant. The other chap was doing the same to him. They were feeding each other. What sort of place is this? The man asked Saint Peter. Why, son, this is heaven, he replied. I told my children that the moral of the story is that I keep going to the convention because in natural hygiene we feed each other, mentally, spiritually, and physically. My subject today is forever young, forever healthy, forever beautiful. Old today and young tomorrow. Isn't that everybody's wish? That is, those who have passed their first prime of youth. Don't we all want to stay young in body and mind as long as we live? I know I do. And I suspect you do too. Man's deep yearning for eternal youth is as old as the race. Goethe immortalized it in his Faust, who bartered his soul away to Mephistopheles for the gift of undying youth. Goethe's masterpiece touches a sympathetic chord in all of us, for there is Faust in every one of us. This is the story of a woman who came to see me when I was newly graduated from my college. I was inexperienced and a bit cocky at that time. I took one look at her, and she must be about 80, 85, and then after listening to her case history, I blurted out, Madam, there is nothing I can do or say that will make you 40 again. And as quick as lightning, she came back with this retort. Young man, who said I wanted to be 40? You just tell me what I should or should not do to reach my 100th birthday. Well, she didn't manage to reach her 100. She was that determined. Tons of money is being spent to study the aging process. To discover the font of youth is still paramount in 1993 as it was in the time of Ponce de Leon, a nobleman of the Mediterranean climate. The best we have been able to do is to create an illusion of youth through mechanical aids, false teeth and dyed hair, lifted faces and bosoms, etc., etc. A handful of people in various parts of the world have been able to achieve definite results in preserving their vigor and youth and living a long life. Today, however, some of their methods can be studied by anyone who wishes to do so. Naturally, we cannot expect to get exactly the same results as they do because they devote the greater part of their time to their practices and meditative training. Also, their environment and mode of life is entirely different from the average person in our Western society. But if we are all willing to make the effort, we can achieve wonders by following at least partly that unique discipline. Everyone who has lost his or her youth would like, no doubt, to recapture it, but not everyone is prepared to make the necessary effort involved. Most of us would like to get it without moving one little finger for it, almost expecting to happen by a touch of some magic wand. I have been told that here in America, as elsewhere, people like to go to lectures on health, youth, longevity and peace of mind, but will not do anything about getting it if it involves an effort. There is a story about lazy Lou, who was woken up in the middle of the night by his neighbor as the village store was on fire. Lou, go and gather up some folks to help us to put the fire out. 20 minutes later, the neighbor came back, exhausted with the fumes, and found Lou snoring in bed again. He woke him up. Lou, the fire is still raging. We need all the help we can get. What more do you want me to do? I have done my duty, haven't I? Look, I went out and woke up half the neighborhood, replied Lou. If that is the case with you, I'm afraid you are wasting your time coming to this convention, because what it has to offer you requires a definite effort on your part. I want to divide this talk in 3 categories. So let us talk first about being forever young. What does young mean to you? Is it the chronological age, the biological age, or the psychological age? Chronological age, you can never bring it back. You are 25 today, you will never be 25 tomorrow. If it is just looking good with your puppy fat still on your face and being able to make believe that you can still abuse your body and get away with it, then you are barking up the wrong tree. I once found a friend of mine who loves sweet things and who looks much older than her 40 years, pouring chocolate sauce into a cup. What are you doing? I demanded, because I knew she was trying to lose weight. I am saving calories, she insisted. I am eating the chocolate sauce without the ice cream. To be forever young means to be having the vim and vigor of life, to have the strength and the stamina to cope with life, to have an outlook of life that is not always looking back, but looking forward to what life has to offer you. It means taking stock not of what has been, but is what is going to be. Supplying the needs of your body by adequate nutrition, sufficient sleep and rest, enough physical activity to put the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons and joints to daily usage, with bags of fresh air and sunshine, are the basic biological needs of your human organism. But there is more to your human organism than just the biological need. Watch a young child and watch a really old person who has aged inwardly. The child wants to explore and touch and be touched. To be young means holding on to your ability to adapt. Successful adaptation is the sign of youth. When your adaptive response is low, you are getting old. Talking about taking stock, there is a story of 2 ladies going to a rundown-looking restaurant in Mexico. They both ordered soup to start with. When the waiter brought it, the ladies noticed that the waiter had his thumb in each of the bowls he was holding. When one of the ladies pointed it out to him, he replied calmly, "Don't worry, madam, the soup is not very hot. I was just trying it out for you." One lady glared at him. The other, young at heart, just laughed at the situation and drank the soup. To me, youthfulness, youngness is related to energy. Where the energy is low, that is physical energy and nervous energy, which is related to the vitality of your organs, then no matter what your chronological age be, your chronological age is either you are getting old or you are looking young. No doubt, old age has become synonymous with being worn out. When I was a student in Edinburgh, Scotland, I used to go on Sundays and walk up Arthur's Seat. One Sunday, an Indian friend of mine who had come to visit me, newly arrived from India, visited me, and we both went to Arthur's Seat. On the way, coming down, we met an old Scottish gentleman, about 70, 75 years old, rigged up in the Scottish regalia and wearing a kilt, a Scottish kilt. My brash young friend asked him when we stopped to chat with him, "Is anything worn under this thing you are wearing?" And pointing to the kilt, "Och, no, me lad, everything is in fine working order. I should know, I just got married." The moral of the story, if you want to look young, feel young and be young, learn to respect the use of your energy. Don't squander it. Overeating, gluttony, and especially rich food is one way of curtailing your energy. Overwork and overtiredness, mentally and physically and emotionally, is yet another way of squandering your life force. That we all value our life force is depicted in a story I heard recently. A surgeon at a hospital in Guadalajara, Mexico, was ready to perform an operation. Upon lifting the sheet which covered the patient, he saw a message addressed to him stuck to the patient's abdomen. It read, "Dear doctor, I am 30 years old, an architect who graduated with distinction. I have a brilliant future and a lovely girlfriend whom I intend to marry shortly. The operation which you are about to undertake consists of removing my gurgling appendix. I beg you, do not touch anything else. Thank you very much." I know many of you have wondered why I ever wanted to be a natural hygiene practitioner. I'll let you into my secret. I could have been a psychiatrist, but the thought made me shrink. I could have been a neurosurgeon, but I didn't have the nerve. I could have been a lawyer, but I did not have my grandfather's will. So what is important in being forever young? Does it mean gin slings, gold and gonads, or is it Perrier and push-ups? I am sure that an intelligent audience like you will have guessed it. It is neither. To me, forever young is to be forever young at heart. Learn from the story I'm about to tell you and see how a change of attitude, a change of outlook can inspire you to be forever young. I call it the story of the horse manure. A farmer had two sons. One was an optimist, the other a pessimist. The farmer was going away for the day, but before he went, he called the pessimist son to his room and told him he had bought some expensive gifts for him to keep him occupied whilst he was gone, and showed him the room full of all kinds of toys, etc. He then called the optimist son and took him to the stable, which was full of horse manure, to while away his time. When he came back that evening, he found the pessimist son crying out loud and hiding his head in his hand. "What's the matter, son?" The father said, "I was so nervous that I could break these expensive gifts and toys you bought me, father, that I could hardly touch them, and I'm bored and lonely." On reaching the stable, he found the optimistic son emptying the stable of the horse manure and putting it out into the yard. "And what do you think you are doing, my son?" "Why, father, I'm looking for the pony who has filled this stable with this dung. Where there is dung, there must be a pony, and when I find it, I'm going to saddle it and go for a ride." Now let us move on to being forever healthy. Many of you may think that being healthy is synonymous with not being sick. But sickness, acute or chronic sickness, is a measure of your inherent health. It is only a healthy organism that acts upon unhealthy situations. The healthier you are, the greater your resistance to the cause of ill health. If after stupid indiscretions you are ill with diarrhea or vomiting or coughing or a cold, a fever or a temperature, it is your inherent health and vitality which is coming to your rescue by initiating the acute responses of fever, vomiting, etc. To retain that ability for acute perception right into your chronological old age is what I call being forever healthy. Health and fitness are often mixed up in the minds of non-hygienic onlookers. Though there is a remote connection, the two are distinctly separate. Health is the genetic, inherited state of well-being. In fact, it is the birthright of all living human beings. Fitness is an acquired state due to practice. A fit person is not necessarily a healthy person. So many well-known athletes have dropped down dead at a young age. Nor is it necessary that a truly healthy person is the strongest and the fittest man in the country. Fitness is based on usage. Health is based on inherited vitality. A health campaign like the natural hygiene movement should not be confused with a fitness campaign. Although fitness is an important aspect of health, there is, as I said, a big difference between the two. And those of you who are American citizens should write to President Clinton and point out this difference and tell him, you have got a physical fitness program, why don't you have a health program, sir? Fitness is measured by strength and stamina. A fit person basically has strong muscles and tendons and ligaments, probably a strong heart and possibly powerful lungs. That does not mean, however, that the person will also have well-functioning kidneys, liver, stomach, intestine, and the brain. A boxer who lasts 15 rounds in the ring may be extremely fit, but if he also abuses and beats up women, then he is sick in the head. And you know of some boxers, don't you? I won't mention the names. we need to go beyond fitness. We need to place equal and even greater emphasis on all other aspects of health. Diet, rest, fresh air, sunshine, stress control, our attitudes, and so on. Talking about attitudes, I was recently talking in England to an old people's club. I was telling them the importance of physical activity. I told them that it is a physiological fact that squeezing a tennis ball 3 times each morning and evening increases bone strength and can reduce the risk of wrist fracture, one of the commonest fractures amongst older people. Researchers at London's Hammersmith and Ealing hospitals, with funding from the Charity Research into Aging, studied wrist bone mineral content and grip strength and found that the amount of mineral in the wrist is proportional to the grip strength irrespective of age or gender. By squeezing a tennis ball as hard as possible 3 times, twice daily, 100 volunteers achieved a 15% increase in grip strength and an associated 3% increase in wrist bone density. Now, who says Keki Sidhwa is not scientific? I am quoting science here. After just 6 weeks of following this routine, the test subjects were found to have replaced about 2 years' worth of bone loss. When question time came, a 92-year-old gentleman stood up and asked me, "Doctor, must it be a tennis ball?" And looking longingly at a lady sitting beside him, he added, "Can I not squeeze something else?" The 92-year-old may not have been chronologically young, but he was healthy enough in my humble estimation. It is gripping stuff, isn't it? Remember, the body is not designed for 1 week of sitting still, followed by 2 hours of jumping up and down vigorously over the weekend. Rather, it is designed for constant, regular movement. So if you want to be forever healthy, make a good start in life. Choose your parents and your grandparents wisely. In being healthy, how you start is important, but in the end, it is how you finish that counts. In the race for success, speed is less important than stamina. The sticker outlasts the sprinter. We breed many horses, but not enough of tortoises. It is a well-known fact that the words whole, holy, and healthy are derivatives of the same root. The word health thus takes on a different meaning than just physical well-being. It means that natural hygiene is demanding from each one of you an integrated person, a person who is wholly connected in communion with both heaven and earth, head in the clouds and feet on the ground firmly, and the heart balanced between the two. To be forever healthy is to be forever well connected, physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is a law of nature. It is nature that demands such a sacrifice and not man-made laws. So don't blame us natural hygiene practitioners that we are instrumental in causing this dichotomy. Blame nature, God, the divinity. Don't blame me. Nature demands out of me the same as it demands out of you. I am a Hindu or a Jew. Natural hygiene is not a religion in the usual sense of the word. I am a Hindu or a Jew or a Christian or a Buddhist. The holiness of natural hygiene is its ability to demand out of each one of us a sense of religiousness, which is completely different from organized religion. Whereas organized religion demands your loyalty to the faith you were born into, natural hygiene, acting through the life force, demands loyalty to your own true self. Whereas organized religion acts as if they possess God, a sense of religiousness makes a man act as if he is being possessed by God. That crucial difference is what I am talking about. Looking at it this way, we are all religious people. That is why I sometimes feel like the baby camel. Let me tell you a story about this baby camel. A baby camel asked its mother, "Mummy, why do camels have large feet?" "That's easy," replied the mum. "It's to stop us sinking into the soft desert sand." "Mummy, why do we have lots of hair around our eyes?" "Oh," Mummy said, "it's so that when we cross the desert and the wind blows, we don't get sand in our eyes." "Mum, why do camels have humps on our back?" "That's easy," said the mother. "As we cross the desert, we might not find any water or food for days on end, so we carry our own supply on tap." The questions answered, the baby camel sat pensively for a few minutes before saying, "Mum, what on hell are we doing in London Zoo then?" With all the potentials that we harbor within ourselves, a forever healthy person has to ask this question. May natural hygiene ask you to ask this question of yourself. Now we come upon the last, but not the least of this trilogy, forever beautiful. To many ladies, being beautiful and looking pretty are one and the same thing. The result, millions are spent on face creams, lotions, powders and paint, soaps, scents and facelifts, a tuck here and a snip there, all in the name of beauty. As to facelift, just as I was coming out of the dining room this morning, a lady asked me, "Dr. Sidhwa, have you had a facelift or something?" I said, "Yes, why? I had a 21-day fast this February and the face lifted itself." For this opportunity, I want to thank a young, youthful and vigorous friend of mine whom I predict is going to be, one of these days, the Sylvester Graham of the natural hygiene movement. Dr. Doug Graham, at whose place I fasted in sunny Florida. Stand up, Dr. Graham, if you are there. Let people see you. Some previous years to that, another good friend and colleague gave me the opportunity to fast 30 days. Stand up, Dr. Scott, if you are here. So every time I fast, the face gets lifted up a few centimeters at a time. So you see, my friends, we natural hygiene practitioners don't just tell you to do this and that. We do it ourselves also. Don't waste your money, and above all, don't waste your precious time and energy on all that nonsense. A beautiful skin is no doubt good to look at. A rosy complexion of peaches and cream is indeed pleasing to the eye. But beauty cannot be bought from a bottle, however expensive it is. A good scrub with a washcloth, hot and cold water splashing, sun and air baths, daily activity, sleep and rest, and nourishing hygienic way of eating will do more for you than a visit to your beauty salon. But skin deep beauty is only one kind of beauty. A radiant smile, an inner confidence in oneself, and a heart full of compassion has transformed many an ordinary looking feature, transformed into a bewitching Mona Lisa. Remember, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it is often the inner beauty of a man or a woman that radiates out and engulfs another before he or she has a time to think whatever. Whether you have brown or blue or green eyes, or the color of your hair, or not so aquiline nose, etc., etc. There is a story of a man who went to his doctor and said, "You got to help me, doc. My wife thinks she is Maria Callas, the beautiful opera singer. She sings day and night at the top of her voice. It's driving me mad. Send her to me," said the psychiatrist. A week later, the man phoned again, sounding much calmer. "I don't know how you did it, doctor, but she's not singing anymore. Did you cure her delusion?" "Not exactly," said the consultant. "I just gave her another part. I told her now she is Greta Garbo, the beautiful silent movie star." Natural hygiene, in its full meaning, expresses the quest for the beautiful. An individual that is alert and aware to all the things going around him not only expresses beauty within, but has this ability to respond. There is so much beauty everywhere. Nature is full of beauty and grace, and yet the moments of response involved in a human heart by such beauty seem to be few and far between. Why is it so? And what is beauty? Is it something which one beholds with the eye alone? To be forever beautiful, you must have that enthusiasm for the quest of the beautiful. In seeking beauty, in that very act of contemplation for the Holy Grail, you are transfixed and transformed into being a beautiful man or woman. Leading a natural hygiene way of life will help you to unfold that sort of personality. To quote Plotinus, "Never did I see the sun unless it has become sunlight, and never can man see beauty unless himself be beautiful." The greatest of all arts where beauty can be richly and fully expressed is in the art of living. To bring that beauty into our lives, we need to open wide the shutters in our mind so that the light of beauty can flow in. As the life force within flows naturally and freely with no impediment in the form of physiological toxins or in the form of the conditioned mind and heart, beauty stills in unperceived. Life then is fulfilled. The quest for the beautiful can therefore be the quest for the life fulfilled. Beauty within then speaks to the beauty that is without. The veil that hides the beauty is oneself. But that same self can also be the mirror to reflect that beauty. The greatest gift of all is the quiet gift of oneself. A man or a woman who lives thus reveals the greatest beauty of life itself in every thought, feeling, and action. A hygienic life embarked upon today culminates in that which is beautiful. Now, I would like to read to you, because many have said, "Are you going to read any of your poems?" And I'm going to finish up with this poem. I know you people call yourself hygienists. Do you know what you call taking the responsibility of calling yourself a hygienist. Do you know what a real hygienist is? Let me point out to you. He is the link between the polluted civilization and the becoming golden age. He is the bubbling brook, pure and crystal clear, from which this parched earth and all who dwell in it may drink to satisfy their thirst. He is the tree of life, watered by the spring of beauty, bearing nourishment to hopeful, hungry humanity. He is a lark singing in the wilderness, lifting the spirits of men depressed. He is the rainbow appearing over the horizon, heralding the coming of the sun amidst the rain, that it descends in the field and flowers of life. As their petals open to welcome his appearance, he is the enlightened, sent by Hygeia, goddess of health, to propagate health by healthful living. He is the light, unfettered by darkness and unextinguished by the wind of change. He is filled with inner radiance and shines with more power than 10,000 candles. He is the voice of nature, robed in truth and simplicity. He waits upon nature to draw his inspiration and heals by living intelligently alone the passing of the crisis called disease. He is the plowman who sows the seeds of his knowledge and wisdom in uncultivated hearts, and humanity reaps the harvest for nourishment. This is the hygienist whom the mass ignores in this life and who often gains recognition after or at the end of his lifetime. This is the hygienist who asks nothing of humanity but that it lives. This is the hygienist whose deed spread and filled the earth with beautiful, healthy beings. Yet the masses deny themselves his message. Until when shall the populace remain somnolent? Until when shall they continue to pray to false gods and so-called prophets? How long shall they ignore the hygienist who can bring them to this point of self-awareness? Symbol of being one with nature. For how long shall the populace honor the dead and forget the living, who spent their lives in self-imposed duty, consuming themselves like burning candles to illuminate the way for the ignorant and the apathetic? O hygienist, you are the living among the dead, triumphing over decay, degeneration and despondency. O hygienist, one day hosannas will be sung to you and the world will be your kingdom. O hygienist, examine the life in and around you. Nature has concealed many gifts to bestow upon you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.